Hello and welcome back. My name is Mishka Kuma, and this is episode 8 of the League series. Last episode, we finally maxed. At the moment, I didn't really have a great reason of maxing other than just to have the cape and make it a little bit of a goal. But I actually did not realize that by maxing, you were able to socket 3 different skill cape perks into your cape slot, and it transfers across not only the max cape but also the Zuck cape. So with maxing, we put 3 perks into our cape slot. We put the defense cape, which gives us 1 free revive every hour. We put the hit points cape, which doubles our base life regen. And I put the dungeoneering cape as it has a lot of useful teleports. And off of maxing and having that cape, I think it's about time we finally start doing some PVM. So before we start doing some PVM, we have a little bit of prep to do first. The first thing I wanted to do was to get my relic powers in order with archaeology. And one of the most important relic powers or necromancy is actually at either 115 or 116 archaeology. And it's the conservation of energy relic. So to get up to 116, I used some more of my time runes. Now, this isn't necessarily efficient, but I wanted to skip some of the training just so I can get into PVM faster. I will have to go back and do quite a bit more archaeology for points later on. But again, just for the sake of getting into PVM quicker, I did use advanced time and I used a lot of my chrono notes to complete research missions. I think every research mission gave me something like 3 million, 3.5 million archaeology XP, and then if it also gave me artifacts which I could complete, that gave a little bit more. So it's really quick to level. Getting to 120 wouldn't be a problem. But I did that first off, and we headed to Howl's Mystery Workshop, and we got our conservation of energy. With that, we also used Fury of the Small, which gives a little bit of extra adrenaline per attack that would grant adrenaline, and Font of Life, which just gives base 500 HP. Later on, I did actually switch my relic powers around again. I kept Conservation of Energy because that is the most important by far. I switched Fury of the Small for my tier 4 luck ring. I did get a ring upgrade, and I didn't want to be having to worry about swapping rings on kill for a little bit better drop chance. Granted, the Ring of Luck only gives about 1% greater drop rate when something's 1 in 60, or if a drop is 1 in 100, with the Ring of Luck it would only be 1 in 99. Looking at it on a case by case basis, it's very minimal, but if I'm going to be killing thousands of bosses, that 1% would save me 10 kills on 1,000. So, for me, it's worth it. I don't like having to ring swap. And with the relics from leagues increasing how much adrenaline your attacks produce, it kind of felt like for me that it devalued a little bit how much Fury of the Smalls gave. Maybe it makes quite a big difference. Maybe at some point I'll switch back. But for now, I'm rocking Conservation of Energy, my tier 4 luck ring, and Font of Life, which I will switch to the rep one for when it's important. After getting our relics sorted out, I wanted to get Ancient Summoning unlocked. This one I didn't make much use of when fighting Rasial, but I wanted to have it unlocked and available for other fights in the future. And there were quite a few things I needed for to unlock this. So first off, we had to get one of each cow: chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. That took no time at all. We just had to skip some time and get lucky with a little bit of breeds. Also, another thing I wanted to note, you'll see me throughout this video doing a little bit of herb lore. I of course wanted to unlock overloads. That took no time at all. But eventually I'll be wanting to get 120 herb lore as well as just higher herb lore, because there are a lot of great potions to make. Vulnerability potions, masterwork, power burst potions, things like that, as well as just 120 for true max and all the points that come with it. So you'll kind of see me throughout this episode. I do have supreme overloads by the time I start fighting the boss, And later on, I'll upgrade that even more. But yeah, going back to working on ancient summoning, we have our cows. I needed to do a few quest line. We completed the giant dwarf, which led into completing the lost tribe, another slice of ham, and eventually unlocking land of the goblins. This was another requirement for ancient summoning. And then we needed a piece of bacon, and since we are Iron Man and we can't just buy it off the GE, I had to go back and bring home the bacon. And with all the items finally collected, we headed to the Zamorakian dig site. It's really neat unlocking ancient summoning. You kind of just run around, you talk to all these gargoyles down here, and they all give you secret notes or parts of basically the password that is used. Unlock summoning, free the demon down at the bottom of the pit. And it's really cool. Some of them you need to have specific items that they want. Some of them you need to do certain emotes. One of them wants you to see your dog, have a dog following you when you talk to them. One of them, the guide says they want to see you damage yourself, which I later learned isn't true. The way that it's worded in the quest guide says you just need to be damaged, but the quick guide says bring something to damage yourself. So I had a bunch of poison chalices, but there's only a chance the poison chalices damages you. I just went to Kingback Dragon before talking to that gargoyle and just took a little bit of damage. And it is true, you just need to be damaged. So hopefully that helps. And yeah, it was kind of a cool quest, honestly. We went down, we got ancient summoning unlocked. I made a few ancient summoning pouches, and I went and filled them up with hellhounds. I think back when I used to play, there were some really good ancient summoning familiars like Blood Reavers, but it seems like a lot of the really overpowered ones have been nerfed. So I just got hellhounds because they give a little bit of extra damage reduction. And finally, the last upgrade I did before I wanted to start attempting Rasial was to get my Salve Amulet enchanted. If you haven't done it yet, if you go do the Haunted Mine, the Haunted Mine will give you a Salve Amulet, and then you have to go and run through Tarn's Lair and kill Tarn at the end, which will give you a book that'll allow you to enchant it. But if you have extra Slayer points, if you've unlocked the ability to craft Slayer rings, or you can just buy a Slayer ring from them, you can teleport to the end of Tarn's Lair, and it makes it really easy. So we knocked that out quickly. And with all those components, we have Supreme Overloads, we have full tier 80 augmented Death Warden tank, not tank, power armor. And of course, we have tier 90 weapons, augmented Salve Amulet, Luck of the Dwarves, and even Vampirism aura. We headed in to fight Rasial. Our first kill went pretty well. I actually felt good. I didn't feel much more powerful than I did when I used to do this on my Iron Man. I do figure out later on there's a couple of upgrades I am missing that make quite a huge difference. But the fight itself is quite easy. You kind of want to just tank Rasial where he stands in the middle of the platform. He has these pillars on the side that charge up and give him orbs, which do a little bit more damage. You can kill them, but it's just not worth the time. His special attack, when he gets 5 orbs, doesn't really do a lot of damage. It probably does about 5,000 damage, which, as long as you're praying necromancy, there's a few defensive abilities you can do to reduce it. But honestly, the fight itself, once you're geared up enough, you can just kind of tank everything and eat through everything. It's just important when he disables your prayer, you get it back up ASAP, as well as you may want to kill some of the skeletons if your kill times are really slow. One of the things that was really annoying is when you cast Death Skulls and it bounces around to the minions. My Death Skulls did like 7,800 damage and left the minions with like 200 health left. If you had your scythe keybound, you could just scythe them a little bit and they would all die. But it was a little bit annoying because I knew I was going to be here for quite a while to get my full set. Luckily with Necromancy, this is kind of the only boss you really need to get into getting your best gear. Like, I think other than this, you could go and get tier 99 prayers, and I'm not sure if there's any other upgrades from bosses for Necromancy specifically. But this fight itself is quite easy. The hardest part is definitely the end. Once you get him down to, I think it's under 200,000 health, he teleports to the platform in the middle of the room, and you can no longer pray necromancy against him. He does despawn all his ads, and he just starts to spawn these purple things on the ground that kind of explode like necromancy bombs. And if you're new to RuneScape 3 combat, this kind of forces you to do something you really haven't had to do before this fight, if you've just been doing necromancy specifically, and that's moving and casting. So the fight itself, the ending is extremely easy. You just have to keep running around in a circle while casting your abilities. Problem is, if you're a Revolution gamer and you're not used to casting your abilities manually, you can't run around and do Revolution. You do have to run and use your abilities at the same time, and that can be quite tricky. So you kind of have to learn your rotation a little bit. As long as you save up all your big abilities like a Death Skull, your special attack, your touches of deaths, and like a fully charged orb ability, like you'll kill him really quickly with Touch of Death, the execute. But if you're new to it, it can be quite tricky and quite annoying. You don't have a lot of space. You can only go like 4 or 5 tiles away from him. Otherwise, you'll be out of range, and whenever you cast an ability, it'll drag you back towards him, which could drag you into bombs. So it takes a little bit of practice, but as long as you bring, a potion, uh, you only need one prayer potion and then a bunch of food. You can really kind of just eat through everything. As long as you keep moving, you don't get combos stacked out. So it's really easy to brute force, and it's quite a cool fight, honestly. I do like it. I've done a lot of it, and I don't necessarily hate it. But we did get rewarded on our first kill. We got an Omniguard, which was amazing. I mean, there couldn't be anything better than getting, your tier 95 main hand weapon on your first kill. Let me tell you what. I did a few more kills. I ended up getting the gloves as well. And I decided, like I said before, my death skulls weren't one-shotting the minions that he spawned, which caused me to take a lot of damage and forced me to kind of spam eat a lot. And if you're eating like normal food, eating normal food drains your adrenaline, which kind of just dragged out the fight longer the more I had to do that. So I decided to go and try and get a few more upgrades to help bump my damage up just enough. Like I said, it was doing like 7,800 damage, so it was really annoying. I just needed a little bit more of a boost. And my first thought was, let me do some more Herbalore, because right now I'm using Supreme Overloads, which gives plus 19 in every style. If I can upgrade these to Elder Overloads, that would be plus 21. I wasn't sure if that would make that difference in like 150, 200 damage, but it's something I wanted to do eventually. So one of the things I needed was secondary supplies, specifically blue dragon scales, as well as unicorn horn dust, things to make anti-poison, anti-fires, things like that. And I wanted to get magic note paper. So if you ever played old school leagues, the bankers note in old school leagues, if you use an item on them, it would note all those items in your inventory. That's kind of how magic note paper works. The only difference is it doesn't let you unnote items, which for what I wanted it for, didn't really matter. I went to ED4, Elite Dungeons 4, and I farmed the first boss for a little while. And I probably could have got 200k points, but I was kind of looking over what things I wanted to get from the shop in terms of points as well as other utility. And I realized by getting 120 dungeoneering, I would have gotten enough tokens to buy everything I wanted. So it felt like a kind of a waste of time for me to farm tokens in elite dungeons just for an item when I would kind of be wasted tokens once I get to 120 dungeoneering. So I kind of moved on from there. I got a couple of points for buying, little league task things, nothing important. And I went to go collect other secondaries. We got Grinwall spikes, During any Mylar hours and Prif, I did head there and I did some potion crafting, as you get a 20% XP boost on combination potions there. We do finally get up to 106, which allows us to start making our Elder Overload potions. I do collect some blue dragon scales, just enough to make a few potions for our Rasial grind. Nothing more, as I'll, get magic note paper in the future and I'll collect a lot more, much easier. We head out to the desert. We collect some phoenix feathers for our super anti-fires. And I do head to the Invention Guild and I set up a few of the machines there. I set up 2 potion producers, as I don't want to be making unfinished potions, as it's super tedious and you get no XP from it. So very efficient to do that. I also made a plank maker. Again, it's just a 0 time thing to make planks, so might as well make it while we can. And I also made a hide tanner. I'm not sure why. I did go do a couple of quests here. I'm sure I had a reason, but we unlocked the Shadow Colossus, which I believe is a boss on Anachronia, and I also went and did Shield of Rav. I think I went to do Heroes Quest later on. I decided to take a break from that, and I finally realized I wasn't scared of doing this. I just literally forgot Zuck Cape was a thing in the game. So I went to Zuck. I did one run through and I died on Zuck on the first time because I forgot how his mechanics work. And I went back and I ran it back really quickly and we got our Zuck Cape quite easily. So I'm not going to go over Zuck. Zuck is quite a complicated fight. It's like fight caves on steroids. Not as hard as the Inferno in old school RuneScape. It is quite easy. It's just knowing the mechanics and not getting one shot. But we got our Ignis Stone. We crafted our cape. We are finally ready to farm some Rasial. There were a couple more upgrades I could have gotten. I just didn't really realize at the time. Thanks to one of you guys who shouted me out in the comments letting me know. But you can't get a Necromancy rune pouch quite easily. And it'll let you store your ectoplasm and your 4 Necromancy runes. And it'll put it in your ammo slot. I do get that later on, not in this episode, but that saves you 5 slots, which is 5 more food, which is amazing. And I do get a ring called Zorgoth's Soul Ring, which is really good. It's a really good ring, and it's the whole reason I switched to putting my luck ring into my relic powers. That way I could just wear this ring all the time. But with all those upgrades out of the way, we do head to Rasial. We get our robe bottoms quite quickly, as well as our crown. And we go quite dry. I don't have the clip of it, but I do get hand wraps at one point towards the end of the grind. And I accidentally teleport out before picking them up. And I was kicking myself really hard because at this point, all I needed left to finish the log, other than the pet, was just a chest piece. And I was like, if I get this chest piece before I get the hands, because, equipping a full set of Rasials is an achievement task. I was like, I'm going to be so annoyed if I have to farm Rasial for another pair of hands because I was so stupid not to pick it up. Luckily, I did get another pair of hands before the chest piece, and we went quite dry in the chest piece. I think we finished our log at 221 kills. This was really late at night. I think it was like 4 or 5 in the morning. I remember telling myself, I'm going to get to 220 kills and then I'm going to stop. And then I got 220 kills, didn't get it. And I was like, all right, one more kill and then I'm going to bed. And on the one more kill before I'm going to bed, I got the rope top. And let me tell you what, I slept so happy that night. The next morning I woke up, threw some augments in it, and yeah, we are PVM ready. I am very happy. The Rasial grind took me about 12 hours. And that's not including all the prep. Granted, I wasn't very efficient on my kills. I took breaks between, did other things, but it was fun. It was enjoyable, I'm glad it's done and now I can start working on other things. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you all so much for watching, all the support, subscribing. I really appreciate it. I'm still having a blast on leagues. I am, for those of you who care, I am considering playing Gridmaster. And by considering, I'm kind of excited for it. So if you guys are interested in old school RuneScape league style content as well, stay tuned. I'm gonna maybe make a new account to play the old school RuneScape leagues. That way I can continue to AFK on RuneScape 3 leagues for points. I'm not too sure how I want to handle that. You guys just let me know. Let me know what you guys are interested in, if you're excited for that as well. But again, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.